Did you read the story?
Really?
I haven't even been able to bring myself to it because I was reading in what is it, 2 Kings about. There's a story that really bothered me for a couple of weeks of when the king is up on the wall and he says what happened? This woman is wailing and she says there's a woman and we have no food, and she said, let us eat your son today and tomorrow we'll eat mine. And she said, so we boiled my son, and in that time, overnight, she hid her son. And it's this horrible, horrible scene of just starvation. And it's been bothering me because hunger is coming, gang. Hunger is coming.
And hunger has been here already in North Korea for a long time.
Yeah. And hunger is just coming, and it may not come like that. Hopefully it won't come like that here in the United States, but it will come like that, and it's already that way in some parts of the world. But it will sweep when this system collapses, and you can't move food. You can't grow food the way we do. When this system breaks down, massive starvation is coming for parts of the world. And it's really been weighing on me, and so I've read that I don't know how many times lately, and I go to the Blaze. I think it's on Friday, and there's this story about this woman in North Korea. Did you read it?
Yep.
I couldn't even read it.
It's unbelievable.
I couldn't even read it. I didn't want to.
It is horrific.
Tell the story.
She escaped. She spent let's see. She's 41 years old. I believe she spent 28 years in a North Korean prison camp. It's one of the relocation camps where they re-educate you. And her entire family was taken because her grandfather, I believe the story goes, said something wrong against the state. She said her grandfather made a mistake. Well, it wouldn't be a mistake in a free society. So they took her entire family. Some of them went to mining camps. Others went to these prison camps. The conditions were so bad in these North Korean prison camps that she said she witnessed often mothers killing, cooking, and eating their children.
This is not, and it's not isolated.
And this is not isolated to North Korea. And this is what this Russian is trying to do. In fact, he references the cannibalism in North Korea, and they have no idea about any of this. None. They're totally clueless, apparently.
I want to put a show together. Right to Tiffany. I want to put a show together next week of Soviets, former Soviets.
That'd be compelling.
People who have seen it. I'd like to find somebody who has escaped North Korea. I mean, and can recently knows about North Korea, and do 2 hours. I just want to sit around round table, maybe 6 or 8 of them, and I want to hear their stories. It's time for people to hear the stories. They don't know what if you are our age, you grew up and you know what communism means. Our children, we never taught it to them. You know, you look at the difference between Hitler and the way he's remembered, and the way that Mao and Stalin are remembered. You hear about the mass death of Hitler, but you don't hear about the mass death from Stalin, and you don't hear about the mass death of Mao. You just don't hear it.
We covered that on Fox in a documentary, and we talked to a professor who is at Rutgers, and he's Ukrainian, a big expert on the starvation, the mass starvation there, and he said the same thing. He talked to people who are still living in the Ukraine today that witnessed mothers eating their own children to survive. 7 million people died in a year there. I mean, and this
in
is...
a year.
In a year. I mean, think
Hitler,
about this.
Think of this. Think of this. Why don't you know about the Hungarian starvation? Or the Ukrainian starvation. What is it called? It's... Oh,
geez, it's been so long since I...
Yeah, I know. But the Ukrainian year of famine. And it was intentionally done and enforced. What was it?
Holodomor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never heard of the Holodomor. Never. I didn't know what it was. 7 million people. Put this into perspective. 6 million Jews were killed in the ovens by Germany. Over how many years? 7 million people were killed by the Soviets in 1 year.
Children would go into fields to try to steal food because they were starving, and they'd shoot them. I mean, and they brutalized this country.
The first thing they did was the Soviets came in and they took the food out of the houses. They went and they collected all of the cans of food. Anything you had, they took it. They took it because they would not fold into the Soviet system. And they were, if I'm not mistaken, first the farmers weren't growing enough and shipping enough to the Soviets.
They kept raising the quotas and raising the quotas and raising the quotas, making it impossible for them to...
Right, and they said, we're starving, and we're not going to do it anymore. You're killing our people, you're killing our land, we're not going to do it anymore. And so Stalin sent his troops in and took all of the food out of the houses and then posted guards around the farms. And if you went in to steal any food, to take any of the food that you spent your life growing, they shot you. 7 million people starved to death for the good of the Soviet Union. No one wants to talk about that. Communism, we won't have 5% unemployment. Do you know that Robespierre and in the end the glorious revolution for the people, they shot people to lower the unemployment rate. Too many people unemployed. Well, let's go take the old, the infirm, the troublemakers, and shoot them. And they did, because it would reduce the unemployment problems. It would reduce the hunger problems. When you listen to the people at Occupy Wall Street, you heard the woman we played on GBTV. Here's this woman who said, you know what, we just have to go back to a farming kind of system. And we shouldn't have all this technology. And we'll go back to a farming style system. The reporter said, do you know how many millions will die? People can't farm in the cities. They can't. You can't do that.
You can't produce enough food with those old methods to feed the people.
Do you know how many millions will die? Quote. Well, you have to get used to that. Death is a part of life. That's who these people are. That's who progressives are.
GBTV. The truth lives here.